Part of business growth is acquisitions. And what I mean by that is either us exiting and selling the company or acquiring another company. That acquisition process, if you've never done it, it could be completely overwhelming, or you may just happenstance luckily fall into something that works well. I'm going to go through acquisitions with you, share a few things that may be helpful, and explain some stories that helped me. So on the first two exits that I had, they came across pretty easy. And the reason why they did is because I happened to know the right people, they had the need, and I was able to exit from those companies. Could I have gotten a higher multiple? Absolutely. Could it have been a better process for me? Totally. But it worked at the time. Now, the thing with acquisitions is that we always want to be building our companies for the site that we could sell our companies. And recently in one of my companies, we went through a process where we were doing the due diligence. Someone was trying to buy us. And ultimately, as we went through that due diligence, it didn't make sense for us to sell to them. We didn't like where it was aligned, and they realized that as well. And we decided not to proceed. It made the company even stronger because when you go through an acquisition, some of the items that increase your multiple are your intellectual property, meaning, do you have software that is proprietary to what you are doing? Or do you have processes that are proprietary to what you're doing? If you don't have any software or any processes that are proprietary, there's probably not as much value as you would assume. Sure, there's going to be the content that you've built up. There's going to be the client list that you may have and the cash flow and all the other pieces. And you've got time that's built in. But as we're going through that acquisition process, we're definitely looking at the proprietary pieces. And that adds to the value significantly. The next is that you're going to be looking at your documentation. Do you have everything written down? Do you have the processes completed? Do you own everything? If you do, you're now worth a lot more. And the reason why is because you're relieving stress from the buyer. See, what happens is the buyer is going to look at this and they're not just looking at how much money you're making. They're looking at how much time they're going to have to put into it themselves or their team is going to have to do. So if things are really tight, you've got documentation in place, you're going to be worth a lot more. The other piece is the predictability. If it's a business that it has a lot of seasonality to it or a lot of inconsistencies, you're probably not going to be worth as much. But if it's a business that has a monthly or annual recurring revenue to it, then you're going to be worth a lot more. When we think of acquisitions, we're looking through those lenses. And when we're trying to acquire other companies, we're doing the same thing. We're saying, okay, how much of this future is certain that I can produce and I can bring in-house? The other piece to the acquisition is the human talent and the human capital that stays in the organization. Sure, there are some organizations where we've built a business that doesn't require people. It's mainly automations. And in that case, your multiple is going to be really high. But on a business that has a lot of human capital, you want to make sure that team is on board. They're not just there for a paycheck, but they're there because they understand what the vision is. They're a part of this group of people that want to solve problems and they actually care. An acquisition is the key to really having that next step forward. See, transactions is where wealth is created. And sure, you can get rich having businesses and not selling, but having real wealth is where the acquisitions will happen. And that's either for you selling or for you acquiring others. So hopefully these tips help out because I've been through it. I've gone through exits and I've purchased businesses and there are a lot of mistakes that I've made along the way. And there are a few things that I look at it now and I wish that I would have done at the very beginning.